Welcome to the second episode of the Learn Podcast. I'm your host, Dean the Wealth Coach, and today's topic is being socially awkward and building relationships. I chose to talk about these two because this is something that I've struggled with for a very long time, and I imagine you probably struggle with this as well. Not so much being socially awkward, not everybody's socially awkward, but just building relationships. So I'm going to start to talk about is being socially awkward, oh, my eyeball. Can't see, something's in it. Start with the root, communication. Communication is very key. That's how we interact with one another. It can be verbal. It can be, what's the other one called? It can be sign language. I don't even know, but yeah, there's many ways to communicate outside of talking. But right now we're just talking about, let's look it up. How many ways to communicate? There are 5 types of communication. There's verbal communication, nonverbal, written, visual, and listening. I had to go to Google for it. I was just struggling, so I just put it out there or ask Google just for the answer instead of racking my brain up about it. Right? Communication is one of the biggest things that we need to keep continuously going from when you're born to the day you pass. Especially for children. When you have children, it's key that you actively interact with them and speak to them so that you can help develop their speaking skills. Also, it's good for them to just hear different words because then they're going to hear different sounds. Plus, when they hear something from you, and if they don't understand, they're going to ask, what does that word mean? So communication's very key. For my socially awkward people, I'm going to start with you first. I am socially awkward. If you have ever met me in person, I usually just stay quiet. I'm that guy that just kind of just keeps to the corner. Don't mind the dry hands. I just keep to the corner. Birthday parties. I hate birthday parties. I don't know about you, but I hate birthday parties. Why? Because especially ones where I don't know who the guest, or I don't know whose birthday it is and I'm kind of just tagging along, or that person has a different set of friends and I'm just like that oddball. So for me, it's like I just kind of just stand there, just look around, or I try to go on my phone. I don't like to be on my phone too much because I'm just like this and it just looks weird, So I don't even interact. I don't even make eye contact with people. Now I'm gonna get through a few things that kind of people that are socially awkward go through. But for me, birthday parties, it's like, all right, who am I going to see there? Am I going to know anybody? Like, you start asking the 21 questions and you just kind of feel just out of place, like unpleasant. Like, why am I here? Can I just hurry up and leave? But being socially awkward is not the end of the world. It's like, it's the worst example, but a blind person, they lost one of their senses, but the other senses are heightened. So with being socially awkward, it's like, yeah, you're not able to just talk freely to people unless they start a conversation with you or they just ask you a bunch of questions. You see the world a bit differently. So being socially awkward, you may be more observant or analytical. So we're not talking, but we're able to listen and see things that probably others are not able to see. So being in like a social environment may be hard for you to speak to somebody, or in a meeting. But when it comes down to like observing something or observing people's body language, you pick up on that much easier. Social awkwardness comes from extreme anxiety. And a few things you can notice yourself or somebody else doing is they're fidgety, they start sweating a lot, they have difficulty talking, feeling self-conscious, Avoiding eye contact, that's something big that I don't do. I'm gonna start doing that. I don't know why. I feel like it just feels so weird just staring into somebody's eyes and talking to them. Like, I don't know how people do it. Like, it just, I don't know. It's very weird for me, but I'm trying to as I talk to people. Also, unable to read body language. For me, I can read body language very easily. You start to feel anxious, and those are pretty much all the signs of being socially awkward. And it's okay. So if you feel socially awkward, here's a few things that you can do to help you overcome being socially awkward. Practice small talk. Just practice small talk with yourself in the mirror, like, hey, how's it going? Or just come up with like just a list of things that you can start that little small conversation, like, hey, how's the weather? Or what do you think of the weather? What do you think of this sports team? Like, you know, something that gets the person going. Or like, hey, tell me about yourself. Like, you know, that way that opens up the conversation with somebody. Make an effort to make eye contact. It's like, oh, I know, like, it feels so weird, but this is something that you need to do. Just look them in the eye, like how I'm looking you in the eye, and just talk to them. Focus on the other person. Ask questions and really listen to the answers. This will help connect with them and help conversations flow more easily. Use these. You got them for a reason, right? So as this person's talking, hey, it might bore the hell out of you, but just take the key points. And you know what's a neat thing that I learned? Paraphrase what they said to you so that they know that you're listening to them. So then it's like, ah, perfect, like, you know. And when you're having conversation with people, they like to hear about themselves. So if you keep the conversation on them, it's less about you. So now the awkwardness kind of comes down because they're talking about themselves and you're just chiming in here or there, right? Where it's like someone says, hey, tell me about yourself. You're like, oh, I wish they didn't ask me that question. That's one question that people ask me, and it's like, what do I tell them today? Am I this? Am I that? A whole part of me being socially awkward. If you feel like that, hopefully these tips help you with not being so socially awkward, and try to relax and just be yourself. At the end of the day, you're not in an interrogation room where you could be like, hey, where were you this night? Blah, blah, blah. Like, you know, like, there's no pressure. So just take a deep breath and just try and just make those, start with just the little things. You don't have to make like a huge thing. You're not going on stage to go talk in front of 1,000 people like what I'm doing right now. Wishful thinking to just be on a stage talking to 1,000 people. So me, I'm socially awkward, but my goal is to be on a stage where I'm talking to a crowd of people and just letting people know, like, hey, I'm in the building, you know? So now more over to relationships. So this can be with friends, family, co-workers, pets, whatever it may be. Just fostering good relationships. And it doesn't necessarily just need to be at the workplace. We always feel like, yeah, we need to focus. A lot of us, well, one thing that I used to do is I used to focus on my work relationships more than my family relationships. And it was very toxic. It's like, let me know if you're guilty of this. And if you're guilty of this, just put guilty in the chat. But for me, it was, I had two personas. Like, I had the work persona and then the home persona. And when I got home, this is like before having a wife and kids, like, I just used to, like, when I was home, I was just upset, or just not upset, but I'd be yelling and shouting and just short-tempered, right? But when I got to work, it was call it a 180, like, just like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. I would go to work, see my boss and my coworkers, hey, how you doing? Hey, how was your weekend? And it's like, this is not me. Like, why am I like portraying this character? And it's like, if something at work happened, you took it with a smile. It's just like, okay, all right. And then you go from being at work to being at home. Man, that blah, 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 this, that, and the fourth. And you're just like, and then Sometimes you don't even talk to the people in your house about what happened. You just take it out on them. And it's like, that's not fair to your family. Like, if you're having a bad day at work or someone pissed you off, don't take it out on your family. They don't deserve that. What you should be doing is be like, hey, you come home, whoever you live with, and be like, man, I had a crappy day today. Today, Joe just pissed me off. Like, he took credit for my work and blah, blah, blah. And then you open up that, I forget the word it is, but you just open up that thing of, open up that dialect for conversation. Be like, so then the person's going to be like, oh, so what happened? And then you can talk about it. What a lot of people do, I did this as well for many years. I never talked about things. And when you don't talk about things, guess what? You bottle it up inside and your body starts to internally feel it. When I was younger, growing up, I worked at a grocery store. And yo, those guys, I think they really hated me. Like, they made me do like the worst jobs there. Sometimes I had to stay late. I'm like, I'm a teenager. Like, I want to go home. Like, I want to go play video games. I want to talk on the phone with my friends. Like, all that stuff I couldn't get to do because I'm at work until like 9, 10 o'clock and then going home. Still having homework to do. And for years, I didn't say anything to anybody. I just kept it in and kept it in. You guys ever watch that episode of The Simpsons where Homer is not allowed to get mad? Either Homer or Ned Flanders, one of them. Yeah, no, it's Homer. And when Homer gets mad, he gets these big lumps that just grow and just go burp every time that he got mad. And I think he ended up going to the hospital because he just kept internalizing how he was feeling instead of communicating how he felt to his family or the person that was getting him upset. And the same thing was happening to me at work, where my stomach, or like I used to get like pains in the side of like my stomach, and it used to hurt. So for a long time I thought it was like hunger pains, but it wasn't. It was like stomach ulcers. And that came from a result of being stressed, because I didn't speak about how I felt. I just internalized it. So my body was feeling it. And when your body feels pain, like, it's like one of the worst things ever. So I went to a doctor, gave me pills, and the pills weren't even helping that much. Later down the line, I ended up getting a new job, and I quit that job. And within maybe like a week, no, maybe even a couple of days, I stopped feeling the stomach ulcers. Like, it just went away. I was like, this is weird. But going back and reflecting on that time, it was because I was in a toxic environment and I wasn't speaking up. And it's key to speak how you feel, because if you don't, your body's going to internalize it. It's like packaging. It's like, take a trash can, for example. Like, when you speak, you're throwing out the garbage. But when you don't speak, you literally just keep stuffing and stuffing the garbage. Eventually that garbage is going to overflow. In my case, it was stomach ulcers. When I got to my other job and not speaking about how my day was, it became explosion on other people that didn't deserve it. So when you are having a bad day, go out and, or when you're having a bad day or something happened, speak to somebody, whether it's a friend, a family member, a pet. You could even look yourself in the mirror and just be like, hey, you had a bad day today. It's all right though. You're allowed to have bad days. So just take some time to unload what is on your chest, your plate, whatever you want to call it, and speak to somebody about it. Like, relationships, like, we're human beings. We're built to speak and communicate with one another. Like, that's how you build that's how you build healthy relationships. Building relationships is important, and here are 5 reasons why. It helps with support and encouragement. As you can see, there's a lot of kinks for this podcast, but over time I'm going to get better. Why? Because practice makes progress. I'm going to leave this unedited for 2 reasons. One, for me, for self growth reasons, and 2, to show you anything that you want to do, just start. Doesn't matter how good it is, how bad it is. This is what you call the imperfect progress. I'm not striving for perfection anymore. When I strive for perfection, my anxiety goes through the roof. And I do that too often with myself. I miss out on opportunities because I'm just always overthinking things. I want this podcast to be the real deal Holyfield, where it's just raw, uncut for the most part, where I just deliver valuable information to you guys. And what's so powerful about the internet is if something bores you, just double, like on, well, YouTube, just double tap and it goes 10 seconds faster. That's a hack for you. So you don't have to literally sit there and be like, okay, why is this guy pausing so long? I'm pausing so long so that I can gather my thoughts so I can deliver it to you. I just want to be the most authentic version of me. And this is how I'm able to do it. I want to be able to reach a mass audience. Hence why I'm doing this podcast. Sorry, that was kind of me going off on a tangent, but going back to my list now. So support and encouragement. I released the episode yesterday and I posted on my social media. And the reason why I did that is so that I can let other people know, hey, I'm doing a podcast, tune in. And the feedback that I'm getting from people is amazing. Like, that's the whole purpose of me doing this podcast. It's for me to develop my social relationship with everybody. Like, I don't talk that much and I need to talk more because I got a lot of value to bring and to help empower people and uplift you, right? Also educate. That's the main thing, to educate you, uplift you, motivate you, and make sure that you take action by holding you accountable. So I do have a Facebook group. I do have a Facebook group called the Wealth Builders. I left the link down in the description where you can join the Wealth Builders group because we're all about building wealth. Once again, I apologize. Let me get back to this list. So support and encouragement. So that helps build strong relationships and provide emotional support. We all need emotional support. You know that song, Lean on Me When You're Not Strong? I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on. That's emotional support right there. That's encouragement. Like, you know who's like my biggest cheerleader? Well, I have two. No, I have three. It's my youngest son, my youngest daughter, and my wife. Those are like my three biggest cheerleaders. I say my youngest son and daughter, nothing against my other two daughters, is because those two kids are young and they see daddy as like a superhero. It's like, good job, dad, keep going. Like, those kids, they put such a big smile on my face because they, right now I'm getting emotional because anything that they see me do, they emulate. And like, I just wake up. Oh man, like, they just feel my fire every day to just be the best version of myself. And anything that I put my mind to, I can do it. And I want to just make sure that whatever it is that they want to do in life, they do it. Yeah, it's like, apologize, but with them, they're like my accountability partners. Like, they'll be like, Dad, did you eat junk food today? No. All right, keep going, you're on track. It's like, Dad, did you exercise today? No. All right, you're falling off track. Get back on track. And they just inspire me to just be better. They empower me at that. Like, just keep going. Like, they're increasing my chances of success because they're just always rooting for me. No matter what, I can be having a bad day. They just come in, they just give me a hug, and they just continuously just tell me to just keep going, whether they actually say it or just by their actions. Like right now, my daughter, she's pretending to be a mechanic right now, and she said she's going to be making a video about her, I guess whatever she's fixing. But it's like they see me doing something, they just go out there and do it, and like no questions asked. And my wife, like, she's always been there from day one. That's like one of my reasons I married her. It's like she just always had my back. She's always been in my corner. Anything I need help with, she's right there to help me. And she just always encourages me to be a better version of me, whether that's speaking up, the way I look, the way I feel, whatever it may be. She's just always there to just encourage me to just be the best version of myself. And I just want to say thank you to you guys for just always being there in my corner. Okay, third time's a charm. So let's get back to this, building relationships and why it's important for a variety of reasons. So is support and encouragement. So we talked about that. Professional opportunities. Relationships are important for professional growth and career advancement. A lot of us don't talk, and if you don't speak, how are you going to know that these opportunities are available? All these opportunities are available. So I heard this story from this guy. He was training somebody, and when he was training that person, he was training the person, and the person, he found out from somebody that they're making more money than him. But because he had a relationship with another person, they said, yeah, they're making more money than you. So I was like, what? So the moment he found that out, it's like, hey, time to renegotiate my contract, or I'm out going somewhere where there's more money. Lo and behold, because he spoke to somebody and he approached his boss, he was able to increase his salary by like $15,000, which is good. If he never spoke about it, nothing would have transpired from there. He would have just been miserable. He would have just been miserable at work training that person, and then that would have lingered for who knows how long. And then it could have probably started to affect his performance. So do you see why it's key to have communication with people, building relationships? Especially him having a relationship with that person, to tell him about how much that person's making. Another thing is improved communication. So it helps resolve conflict, build stronger personal and professional relationships. For a long time, my thing was just resorting to yelling and fighting when I grew up. I got into many fights when I was younger, especially with my brother. And for those that have been in fights, the amount of energy it just takes out of your body when you're either yelling or you're actually physically fighting. Do you ever wonder why boxers don't fight like the day or two after? It's because their body has to what's the word I'm looking for? Re-energize. So after a fight, your body's like done. Like you just don't want to do nothing. And sometimes your message doesn't even come, majority of times, your message doesn't even come across because it's just a bunch of yelling or fighting, right? So it's easier to resolve conflict by speaking to somebody versus shouting at them or actually physically fighting with them. Another thing is your physical and mental health. Relationships have been linked to improve mental and physical health outcomes. It has been shown to reduce symptoms of depression, anxiety, low stress levels, and improve your well-being. Going back to Homer. Homer had those lumps on his neck where he ended up being hospitalized. A lot of us don't realize how strong or how our bodies are when it comes to something that they don't like. Like if you sit with something for years upon years, imagine what it does to your mental health. Like say you end up having a mental breakdown and you never get back to where you used to be. So it's key to speak when you need to speak to somebody. If you need to see a therapist, go out and see a therapist. Another thing is a sense of belonging. Building a relationship can help provide individuals with a sense of belonging and social connectedness. I think I said that right. This can help individuals feel valued and accepted, and can attribute to a greater sense of happiness happiness and life satisfaction. So, you ever been in a room where it's like everybody's socializing and you're the one just over there just staring type thing? You want to be in the circle, and that's what a sense of belonging means. Just being in the bunch, you know. You don't want to be that odd ball out or whatever, or everybody's sitting at a dinner table and you're alone in your room watching TV, having dinner. Like, you know, being a part of a circle. So that pretty much wraps up today's episode. I hope you guys found some value in it. So make sure, for my socially awkward people, just recap that again for you guys. Start with small talk. Talk to yourself, your dog, talk to a pet if you have to, your hand, just to learn to just be more familiar, or be more familiar with small talk. Turn the camera on if you want, like what I'm doing right now, and just have small talk. Like me, this episode was supposed to only be like 10 minutes, but ended up being like almost 30 minutes. Make an effort to make eye contact. I know it feels weird. Or what you do is like stare at their forehead so that it kind of seems like you're making eye contact with them. What's the other one? Focus on the other person. That's a key thing. Focus on them and repeat what they say to you so that they know that you're listening and you're interested. And just take a deep breath and relax. And yeah, just relax. So make sure to like and subscribe to my new podcast. I'm going to be releasing one every day. I forgot to mention another thing. The reason why I'm doing this podcast is I'm challenging myself to be more consistent. And the first 75 episodes is going to be every day until I'm consistently doing this. I have a rhythm as to what I'm teaching, what I'm teaching and what you're able to learn from this, where you can drop the L and start to earn. So today's lesson was to just go out there and communicate. And what you're going to earn a higher social status. And I don't mean social status where people are liking you on Instagram. I mean like people really getting into liking you, you building relationships, you connecting the dots, you building your network. Why? Because your network equals your net worth. Remember that. And I'll see you on tomorrow's episode.